Welcome back to my freezing cold workshop. Now today's video is going to be quite an experiment. It's the first part of quite a big project. Now today what I'm going to do is hopefully show you how to make a silicone mould for using with resin using very cheap materials. These materials. I've been to the pound shop and I bought loads of silicone. Right, so what am I going to cast? Let me show you. Okay, so what we got here is a 1923 Singer sewing machine, which has got the treadle and it's all still fairly functional. There's no drive belt, but the sewing machine is all still there. Now, obviously, I'm interested in the treadle bit, so the cast iron bit at the bottom. The sewing machine's not going to go to waste. I'm going to do something else with that. I don't know what yet, but I'll do something with it. So the bit I want to cast is on the side. Let me show you. Okay, so I'm down here on the floor and it's freezing cold because the floor's concrete. Now this bit here is the bit that I want to make a cast of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some silicone using my cheap silicone and cast this and then hopefully make a copy out of resin. Now that copy will then end up inside the resin table when it's finished. All right, so first thing I've got to do is take this apart so I can get to this, and I've got to get off the floor. Okay, so I've got it stripped down now as far as I'm going to go. The rest of it is over here. That's going to stay together as it is. Now this is the bit I want to cast. Now it's been painted, it's in really good condition, but it has been painted. I don't know whether that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. But basically I want to replicate this. Now the first thing I've got to do is make a board to go on the back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a bit of MDF and I might cover that in sellotape to stop things sticking to it. So first of all, to the bandsaw and cut this out. Okay, so we're ready for some silicone. What I've got now is my backing board clamped into place. As you saw, I put some sellotape on it. Hopefully that's going to stop the silicone sticking to the backing board. I don't know if that's going to work. It might do, it might not. Okay, right, so what I've got to do now is try and make this silicone so I can use it. Right, so I've never done this before. I've done lots of research by watching loads of YouTube videos. What I've got is a bowl of cold water. First thing I've got to do is take off all my watches because now some people wear gloves, but I think it's going to stick to my gloves. I'm just using a bit of washing up liquid, and you've got to use lots of this. Bit more. Squirt the silicone into the water slowly. Don't be tempted to open the whole tube and then try and put it all in. I think the idea is you coat all of the silicone as it goes in and then you massage it into like a dough. So you don't want this bubbly. So that's bloody cold. Let's see what happens. Right, so I've cut the ends off my silicone. Now I'm going to basically just put it in. Oh, right, that's the end of my first tube. Looks like worms. So now, basically gather it all up. Don't think it's going to be enough there. Let's do another one. so now I've got a big snowball of silicone. Yeah, it's starting to get a bit sticky. I think I haven't got enough moisture on that bit of finger. It's going to get messy. Right, and what I need to do now is quickly coat the mould with some of this. Didn't think about this. Right, let's get a paintbrush. Right, everything is now sticky. Right, so all I've got to do, get a paintbrush. Yeah, soak it in the washing up liquid and paint over what I want to mould. Now this is, in theory, going to act as a releasing agent. So loads and loads and loads of it. Anywhere that it's not covered, it's probably going to stick to. Okay, now all I'm going to do, in theory, is make a mould. Right, push it right in as much as you can. Oh, this is going to take forever to go off. Oh, what could possibly go wrong? Right, try not to leave any thin bits either. Right, see if I can get this off my fingers. Excellent. Right, so if you've ever used silicone, you'll know if you get it on your hands, it's a nightmare to get it off. Right, I'm going to leave that now to cure for probably a couple of days, I reckon, because it's quite cold out here. I'm going to give it the best chance I can to let it set. So I'll come back in a couple of days and see what sort of mess we've got. I'll probably still be cleaning this off my hands. So I've had to bring this into the bathroom where it's a bit warmer, and I've put a bit of old carpet down here. I'm going to leave that to dry for a couple of days and then see what happens. Right, so I suppose this is the moment of truth. It's been drying now for about 24 hours. I've brought it back out to the workshop and it's still cold. Right, let's have a close look at this before I take it apart. Right, well, so here it is. It looks like it's all gone off. It looks squidgy, but not sticky. Okay, so, and all the bits around the edge all seem like they're dry. Okay, well, I'll try and take the clamps off and see if it comes apart. Well, they come off okay. It's still wet. Right, so I suppose the big question is, did it work? Well, yes it did. Look, I've actually got a silicone mould and you can see quite a bit of detail in there. Now it's very dirty. Now I think what I should have done is cleaned the cast iron before I actually put this on. It seems to have taken all the dirt with it. But all the detail is there. Now I think what I'll do is I'll trim this up to make it look a little bit better. And then when I cast it, I think I'll have to put something around it because there's bits at the bottom here where I couldn't seal it, so all the resin will leak out. So I'm going to give this a bit of a clean up and a bit of a trim up and then go from there. It looks like a success. Right, so on my original positive here, it had some gold paint. Now this is obviously reacted with the silicone, which is what's given me this black icky stuff. But that's not a problem because the resin is going to be black anyway. Now on here, obviously these branches out from the centre bit, they have left little channels here. Okay, so if I put resin in, it's just going to fall out of those. So I think what I'll do is I'll take my board, which I know it doesn't stick to now, I'll put it on there, and I think I'll just put some silicone in all of these, smooth it all out, and then leave that again overnight. Right, well, it looks like a bit of a dog's dinner at the moment because the extra silicone I've got is clear and the other stuff was white. It doesn't matter. Right, I filled in all the gaps. I've given it a good old trim up now. So it's looking more like a mould. I'll leave that to dry thoroughly and then we'll try and put some resin in it and see where it leaks from. I'll probably end up putting plasticine around the outside just in case it does leak. Okay, so let's try pouring a little bit of resin. All I've done is I've put some plasticine around my mould just to give it a little bit of strength, and hopefully if anything leaks out, the plasticine will stop it. It's not very pretty, but it looks like it's going to work. Okay, so all I've got to do now is mix up a little bit of resin and pour it in. What could possibly go wrong? Right, okay, so I've mixed up my resin. I didn't quite have the right colour, so I've used some purple colour for now. I've got a feeling this is going to be a bit of an experiment. Right, what I've got is my mould on one piece of wood, and then I've got another piece of wood, and the idea is I'm going to pour the resin in and then use blocks of wood, let's try and get you in shot here, to level it up. Okay, and then that way I can move it around and it will stay level. All right, so let's pour some resin in. That's my resin. What I'll do now is I'll put this somewhere to cure and then see what happens. Right, so it's been quite a few days now since I cast this, and here it is down here. Yeah, it wouldn't go off. It's so bloody cold, it wouldn't go off. And I've moved it at some point, and it's ended up with more resin at this end than there is at this end. Right, I'm going to try and get this out of the mould now and see if it breaks. If it doesn't break, then well, even if it does break, I shall recast it in proper black and we'll see what happens. Right, let's get it out of the mould. Right, so I've got it out of the mould. The resin hasn't quite gone off enough. I think there's something wrong with it. Now, this could be a number of things. Either it was too cold, which it was very cold, which slowed down the starting process of the resin. Also, I did try and use a little bit of food colouring in the resin, which I think may have upset its curing process. And also, I moved the mould while it was setting, and I've ended up with it at different levels. So anyway, it's come out. It's slightly thicker at one end than the other, and it's very sticky. So what I'm going to do is recast it now. But let's have a quick look at this just to see what we got. Right, so this was the mould I made. Can I use it again? Yeah, I probably can. I mean, you can see most of the detail in there. It's not as fine as you would get if you used proper silicone casting. Right, so that's the casting I did of this. Okay, so this is the original. And my one is here. Okay, so yeah, it looks very similar. It's losing a lot of detail because it hasn't gone off properly. A lot of the detail is starting to disappear, but you can read it, you can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recast it, and hopefully it will come out better. Okay, but there's the original and there's my casting. It's come out, it's this purple colour because of the colouring I used. I used some food colouring and it went a bit wrong. It's not too bad considering it only cost a couple of quid, but it proves it works. Right, so that's it, we're all done. So the idea was I was going to cast the pan off of this Singer sewing machine. Now I was going to use silicone from a pound shop, which I did, use 3 tubes of that, so that's cheap as chips. My first casting was this one, which is still sticky. It's a week later, it's still sticky, and it still looks like a sweetie. Okay, the mould I made was this. I can use it again. It's not very pretty, as I say, but it works. It's quite robust, so I've got no problem with that. Still smells after a week. Next time I do it though, I will use some release spray, silicone release spray, because it was a bit sticky and it didn't want to come out very well. So my final one again, I cast it. Here it is. Let's give you a closer look. Right, so this is my recasting. I've done it in black. Yeah, there's lots of detail on that. There's as much detail on that as there is on the real one. Obviously this is not gold because it's not been painted. Now the idea is this is now going to be embedded into a resin table. But considering I just used some of this silicone to make this mould, had one try, and then this one was my final try. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Plenty of detail in there. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. None of this is my idea. I've collected all little bits of information from hundreds of different YouTube videos using the washing up liquid and the silicone. So there wasn't one particular person that gave me the idea. It's just a collection of ideas. So if any of you decide to do this, drop me a comment in the comments below and let me know how you get on. I'll be interested if anyone has any more success. But if anyone copies my video, at least have the decency to give me a shout out. I enjoyed doing this, and I hope you do too. Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Hello. This stinks. It smells like vinegar. Right. It's quite floppy. Obviously the casting's purple, so it looks like a big sweetie. Let's try that again.